Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining in. Just as a quick check, please respond in the chat if you can hear me. All right, perfect. Thank you so much to those who respond. All right, we're going to go ahead and start getting ready for today's session. We have a very interesting one. I know a lot of you were very excited for what we have going on today. We're slowly sending the attendance form in the chat, so please make sure that you take a look at that. All right. Now, just to go over our rules one more time, out of respect for our speaker and respect for the other participants in the chat, I'm asking that you all please leave your mics muted so that we don't interrupt the information that's being transmitted. We also want to make sure that we keep our cameras on so that our presenter can see that we're all listening and engaged. Another thing I want to ask is please keep all questions in the chat related to the content that's being presented. Now, Michael has agreed to take questions as they come through the chat, so we'll be giving options for you all to have your questions responded during the session today. All right, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. So joining us today is Michael. Michael is an award-winning sustainability advisor and is the current founder of the American Polling Exchange, or APEX group. We are very excited to have him here today. So Michael, the floor is all yours.
So much, Yasmeet. So welcome everyone. We're doing a Zoom call and I'm also doing a TikTok live. So you can go on either one. Obviously the Zoom call is where we're going to have the most interactivity and I'll be happy to take questions throughout. So, the challenge is, so my name is Michael Muyot. I've been working in sustainability for over 15 years. And, I cut my teeth on Wall Street, very, very traditional Wall Street, and then transitioned into ESG investing, sustainable investing, and wrote the algorithm for the NASDAQ CRD Global Sustainability Index early on. So I got into this space in 2005. So when preparing for this workshop, it's almost like we had too much material. So I wanted to make this most useful. So I wanted to give you this framework, but obviously, you have to reverse this, right? But I look at the three circle Venn diagram, right? And I'll just walk you through it. So we have our AI, tech, and skills here. Then we have our subject matter expertise here. And then we have our systems design approach here. So I say this because this framework is how I approach everything with artificial intelligence. So I started off early in natural language processing, but now I'm much more on the user side, right? So because I've worked with so many different stakeholders within sustainability, I can say, oh, well, here's how you want to look at it through the investor lens, right? So sustainable investing, ESG investing. Here's how you want to look at it through the NGO, right? So I worked a lot with the United Nations and with the Global Reporting Initiative, SASB, these different folks, right? So they have a different perspective. And then here's through the corporate lens, and then here's through a local, sustainable, community perspective. And that systems-based approach matters greatly because it allows us to give a framework. And that framework is how we're going to structure our commands in AI. So I'm going to go through some stuff with ChatGPT today. But it's very important you have the framework first, right? So within AI, no matter where you come into it, like if you're working on the programming side, that's one thing. If you're doing training large language models, that's what I'm working on now with Sustainability Respect with a great organization called WSS or SERP or the Phoenix platform. And the user experience is what the developers need to understand what to build, how to interact with it, what all the decision support built into that will be, right? So when you look at sustainability, right, what's your definition, right? We have a personal definition of sustainability, and then we're also going to have our professional definition, and then we have the perspective how we fit in with society. So that's that public good, the common good. And these are all really important. So my personal sustainability journey, I look at through that lens of very, very hyperlocal. But when I was working on the corporate side, we were doing a lot of automation. And the automation, when you're building out indexes, the first thing you do is filter out. You want to filter out the noise. So, and that's what's good about this prompting exercise. So what I'll show you in chat in a second is think about it in this way, in three ways, right? We're going to do a prompt, we're going to do our process, and then we're going to package it up. right? So our prompt is how we construct what we're telling chat or any other UX, chat system to do. The process is how we want to interact with that. We're telling it, and then packaging up where are we going to put this, right? We're not just going to keep it in a chat thread. That's not useful to anyone. We're going to either make a PDF, right? So maybe we're going to put that in text-based markdown format, which is similar to HTML, or we're going to generate it into a presentation, or we're going to throw it into Notion and Wikipedia. Like, how are we going to package that up? So instead of just getting in there and starting working in the thread, it's important to talk about that process, the framework, and how we're going to interact with it, with any of the systems. So the reason I start with ChatGPT is because the prompt engineering gives you a really good foundation, and it forces you to see those results. The reason a lot of folks don't get the results they want is because they're not structuring the entire prompt, the process, and the packaging up front. If you design that up front, it makes everything a lot easier. And then the other thing we'll touch on today is how to build a custom GPT. So custom GPTs are really effective right now because instead of working just in thread, you can train your own little mini chatbot. So this way you've preloaded the information, so you don't have to put all that in your command. So, and then with all that said, think about it. If we had a matrix, right? We have prompting here, we have process here, and we have packaging here. And then on this side, we're going to have our context. Right? We're going to tell it what our definition of sustainability is or what lens to look through. We're going to give it our command, direct and clear instructions of what to do. And then we're going to talk about our conversation. Our conversation means it's not putting one big long prompt with all these different complicated instructions, because you're overtaxing the system and it's probably going to get most of the things wrong. But if you look at it as an iterative process, right? Step by step, that's really effective. And you'll see what I do in terms of chat. I'm going to use my brain for the most complicated tasks, and I'm going to use AI for all the stuff that's very repetitive, very manual, very organizationally. So use it for what it's really good at, and then save my brain power, my creative energy, and all that different source material for what it does best: innovate on the fly, respond, interact, analyze, and communicate, storytelling. Okay, so think about that matrix. And what we'll do is I'm going to go through this process. So I'm telling you what we're going to do. I'll show you. And at the end, we'll do a review. And then the folks at HerWILL will send all this stuff out, right? They'll package the stuff up and then send it to you. So you'll get a breakdown of the commands that I use, what software I used, how I customize the GPTs, and then all of this structure in terms of AI plus sustainability, where it goes. So one more thing, and then we'll get into it a little bit more. So think about it in this way. Sustainability in 1986 at the United Nations Brundtland Commission coined the term sustainable development. And what the definition is meeting the present needs of this generation, of all of us on the planet right now, without harming or inhibiting future generations' needs. So right now, we're doing a really bad job at that. We, as a planet, use up enough resources for 2.5 planets. So we're living beyond our means, literally. And the United States is one of the biggest culprits of this, right? Because of late stage capitalism and consumerism and a car culture and all that, right? We can go into that. Sustainability gives us the opportunity to do everything differently. So I could talk about, again, personal sustainability journey, professional sustainability journey in work, and then also societal sustainability. So personally, what I tried to do is lower my entire carbon footprint through everything where I live, how much I travel, where I work, what I eat. What I eat is huge. Carbon footprints are massive in terms of food and clothing and transportation. So I can look at that. But how do I do that? Well, within chat, as you'll see, I can simply say, with any time I'm using it for decisions, like I'm booking a travel, right? I could say, please give me the most, sustainable options. What does that mean? Chat doesn't have a perfect definition unless I give it to it. So we'll show you how you can embed that in the instructions for everything that we do. Well, that means for me that I want to lower my carbon footprint, be able to travel, where I'm going with multiple people. It's not just me flying on a plane by myself, right? I can choose travel options where if I'm sharing it with other people, that lowers my carbon footprint, where I stay, the choices that I use, the brands that I use, but I have to give it that context. That's personally. Professionally, there's so many things we could talk about, but if you think about the companies that we work for, corporations, well, if it's a public company, they all have to put out sustainability reports, right? So you must file, according to the SEC, your financial reporting, your annual report, your quarterly 10Ks. But now, quasi mandatory, much more voluntarily still, corporations will put out a corporate social responsibility report, a sustainability report, a social impact report. They come in many different flavors, but it's all of the non-financial factors, and it's talking how they're going to be a good citizen in society. But they get into a lot of details. So if you're working for one of those companies, you know, or you want to choose which companies to work for, read the freaking sustainability report, and you'll find out what a good citizen they are. Now you want to be able to read that, right? So the other thing that came out of the Brundtland Commission was the formation of the Global Reporting Initiative and the G3 guidelines many moons ago. And then I got involved with that organization and helped craft those guidelines to determine what is the company's environmental, social, and governance overall, you know, responsibilities, footprint, and impact. And you have to be able to measure that. What gets measured gets managed. What gets managed can get optimized. So that's why we do this. That's on a professional level. But a corporation's main goal is to, one, stay in business, two, make a profit, and return maximum amounts to their shareholders. So that is not really in line with being a good corporate citizen, right? Lowering your environmental impact, paying for all the damage you do to the air, the land, the water, and the communities that you operate in. You want to pay as little as much because you want to maximize your profits. So there's this conflict here, and that's the delicate dance. So when you work with more of a ecosystem or a value chain perspective, that is where we actually can get away from some of the profit motives, right? Because the value chain is like, okay, how can we create a valuable product, service, or solution that is good for society, that everyone benefits from? And how do we maximize our efficiency of how we all work together? And yes, there's some money and profit made, but it's much more about the value, the benefits, and the impact to all. So before I open up ChatGPT and switch over to that, I think it'd be a good time just maybe take a short pause, see if there's anything I explained that was too complicated or you needed clarity. So I'm happy to take a couple questions at this point before I jump over into the app. Yasmina?
There seems to be no questions in the chat at the moment.
Okay. Then if you want to put a question there, I would say maybe ask folks, what is their definition of sustainability and what are they most excited about learning today in this workshop? And then I'll jump over to my screen. Okay, so if you're on the TikTok, I'm going to talk through everything, but you can have the Zoom link and then join if you like. But I'll talk through everything, and then I'll show it up on the back screen here as well. So here is the ChatGPT 4. So I recommend using ChatGPT 4 personally. Once you've played with the 3.5 version enough, that's free. But there's so much more you can do here that you just can't do in the free version. So as you can see on the left-hand side with the navigation, you have now these Explore GBTs. And GBTs came out a while ago, but now it's pretty cool. It's kind of like an app store, but not the same, right? You can't like download it and have it separate onto your phone. But what you can do is share it with other folks, especially within your team, if they have this app. So what I've been doing, let me move this. Okay. Sorry. It's a little bit delayed. All right, so here's like one example. So I made the Greenville Navigator. So I'm here in Greenville, South Carolina, and I was extremely interested to see, as someone who worked in sustainability, that they had both a 2040 strategic plan with a lot of good sustainability information in there, and they also had a separate sustainability plan. And I'd say it's very aspirational. It's early on, so it has some really good stuff in there, but there's also a lot of things that's not in there in terms of specific actions, specificity. So what I did is I took the whole plan, which is almost 100 pages, and loaded it into here. So GPTs allow you to basically create a small customized focused version of this app, right? Or this piece of software. And what it allows you to do is train, which is load in different files. So I can go to edit GPT and I'll show you what I did already, right? So you can give it a name, obviously, you can give it a cool image. It'll create it on the fly using DALL-E, which is like a baby version of Midjourney. You can do a description. I have my instructions here, which are very important, right? I can't show you everything, but custom instructions. You got your conversation starters. So when someone comes in, just like with ChatGPT, you can preload in these questions that you know will give an interesting response. And then here's the most important part, is the knowledge base. So the knowledge base allows you to assign up to 8 files. I found about 6 is like kind of like the sweet spot. And that knowledge base of files will allow this custom version to search there first. So instead of using the general large language model, it'll use this information first. So I loaded in here some things that I had created on my own based on analysis, and then things that were publicly available. So there's again, sustainability GVL plan. There was information on a SWOT analysis that I put together, and then there was AI and automation readiness that I put there as well. So what's great is that this is already preloaded in, and now instead of me taking a lot of time up front to tell it what to do, it has that information preloaded. So I'll show you how that all works out. All right, so you would then go and let's say we change something in there. We would just go update, confirm. Sorry, the nav bar keeps getting in my way. Move that out of the way. Okay, so on the left-hand side, right? So now what I'm doing is I'm previewing the app. I've just used one of the preloaded questions, and like I said, it'll search up the knowledge base first and then give that response. So I said, can you tell me about Greenville's 2040 vision plan? And then it basically searches up that document and gives you a short synopsis. And then I could say, okay, great. Tell me how I can find good resources in Greenville to learn more about the sustainability plan. So again, instead of it looking in general, right, the general knowledge base of the whole world, it's only looking at these specific files, which is geared around Greenville's sustainability plan. So I found that this is something that could be done for you personally. So in some workshops that we did here at Judd Hub, we did some really cool user case scenarios. So there is one gentleman, he's a local artist, and I said, all right, what's the project that you're working on? He's like, well, I'm working on, finding out some grants, researching some grants so I can post an art display, right? But they're expensive. You got to get materials, you got to find the space, maybe like you want to provide a little bit of food, So Greenville is very supportive of arts. So we worked on creating a custom app for him called Creative Opportunity Outlook. And what it does is same thing. It gives helpful information about how to research grants. Once you find the grants, how to answer those questions. And then we found a list of, 8 or 10 different grants just for artists in this region. So starting in Greenville, South Carolina first, and then going outwards. And then we put together, as you can, you can't see on TikTok, sorry, but you can see on the Zoom, that it not only can give us all the information about these great grants, but it actually gives you a plan. So that's what I was talking about, systems design wise. You could do, do it once in terms of here's the information for my project, feed it into here, and then every time you search up a grant, it knows the information to fill out. So you're not doing it one time, and repeating it. You're doing all the work up front, setting up the parameters, loading up your information, finding the grants, and then having it package it up for you. So you're not having to repeat the same amount of work from zero, from A to Z each time. You do from A to P or R the first time, and then you're only doing the last bit, of whatever R through Z on the back end for each one of these. So this is just another example of how to build out a custom app custom GPT for a specific purpose. All right. So here's kind of like the general stuff for each one of these. Another cool one is there was someone in the class that was doing photography. So we want to be able to replace their sales, overload with all the requests they have, preload in all the answers, and this is able to answer that quickly. So you can see that it also could do it in a very easy marketing or commercial sense as well. So all of these, like I said, all of these are different specific GPTs that you can build pretty quickly and on the fly. Now let's work with, see if I can get this out of my way again. All right, so now we're back to just a general GPT. All right, so camera here. All right, so again, we talked about prompt, process, and package. So the first thing I like to do is, if we're talking to chat in general for the first time, is act as if, right? So that's the context. Act as if you're my executive assistant with 20 years experience in document management. Take all of this and organize it into this type of document with these commands. That's one type, right? The other part is the process, which is talking to it and asking for instructions. So this way, I'm asking chat, help me tell you how to help me the most. So I'll give you a couple examples. All right, let's see if the voice will work here. Yep. Cool. All right. Hey, chat, please act as my executive assistant and research for me. What are the top 5 sources for AI and sustainability if I wanted to come up with some innovative new ideas as a social impact entrepreneur? So what I like about this, and this is like a little plugin, is being able to talk and not type. So this way I can talk, it's doing its work, and then I'm thinking about my next command. And you'll see that the best way to work is always going to be iteratively, right? So do a command, see how what comes back in terms of the results, and then keep going. So for here, I have to see the results, say like, oh, no, that's not what you misunderstood me, or, oh, let me adjust the context. So that's why I say it's very important not to think about just having one perfect command. It's iteratively. So it gave me some, what I would say, pretty mediocre, if not substandard results. So what that's telling me is I need to be more specific. I need to be way more specific what I'm looking for. Okay, thanks, chat, but I think we missed the mark on this one. So what I'm looking for is innovative resources of organizations that are using artificial intelligence and machine learning to solve the climate crises, environmental crises, social inequalities, social justice inequalities in the world. What are who are the organizations doing the most cutting edge work? And it could be, because think about it, and this is what the corporate overlord, right? So Microsoft is the biggest investor in OpenAI, so we only have the choice of using Microsoft Bing. So that's, to me, that's a limitation. It is what it is, and I love the feature, but you're going to have some inherent biases right there. But these results, as you can see, are more specific, a little bit more refined. So that tweak in my command really worked, right? So Reefa Bird is a California startup addressing global textile waste, patent pending AI and robotics-based recycling system. Yes, very interesting. All right, Mortar.io, decarbonizing buildings, awesome. Climate change AI. Okay, excellent. AI for the Planet Alliance. Yep. So these are much better. So you can see how one, I'm doing act as if, and then two, I'm going through this process to come up with the perfect, not the perfect, the ideal command so that I get the best results possible. And then we're not even talking about packaging yet. Okay. So, like I said, I'm working with a new organization that we met through Greenville here called WSS, World System Solutions, and they're working on a really exciting project around addressing climate change, especially around carbon offsets for individuals, for businesses, and for local and definitely like larger governments. So, but there might not be in the search engine of Bing. So I would have to give them much more context to go and find them and what they're doing. So that's interesting that these are the ones that came up. So as I wanted to go through that process, I would go through another iteration. Here's the other thing that I like to do. Focus groups. Focus groups are ways to create hypothetical groups of people with different mindsets so that they can help advise you. So it's almost like creating a really quick focus group, board of advisors, friends to bounce your crazy ideas off of, people to check your logic. So here is, I would probably go through a couple more steps and then do a focus group. So let's watch this. All right, thanks, chat. These look good. If I wanted to find out which companies, industries, associations, or events where some young entrepreneurs are working on the most cutting edge social impact sustainability solutions, but with an AI or Web3 lens put to it, what would be some good URLs that I could search up? All right, so this will now add in a different dimension to it, and I have to see what the results are to see if we need to tweak that prompt again. Yeah, so this is totally missing the mark for me. It's giving some things that are cutting edge and other things that are like very establishment based. Interesting. All right, so let's go and do another act as if to help package this up. We'll do a focus group and then we'll put it into a document. Ramin, how are we doing on time? Cool. All right, I was just doing a quick time check. All right. All right, thanks, chat. Please act as my executive assistant with 25 years experience in document management, information technology, and librarian services. Go throughout the entire thread, analyze this, and give me a briefing document in text-based markdown format. I need a really good title. Give me a synopsis. Give me organized flow of sections, and then give me a good summary conclusion with the top 3 next steps afterwards for review so I can share this with my team. So you see what I did there is I'm giving it a prompt, act as if. I'm talking about the process and then the context, and then I'm telling it to package it up. And as you can see on screen, sorry, TikTok, you can't see it, but if you're on the Zoom call, it's literally creating the document flow. So what I could do is I could probably pull it up over here as well. All right, so it'll come up on that screen in a second, and then I'll move out of the way. All right, so this is a really nice prompt that I've used repeatedly, as you could probably tell. All right, so it starts off with a big title. So when I say act as if, right, it's acting literally as that person profile with those type of skill sets. And because I said 25 years experience, it's coming at it from a higher level expertise. And that works for anything. Sustainability, literature, electrical engineering, whatever. Act as if this type of expert with this many years experience. And then for the formatting, I used Markdown format, which is very similar to HTML. And what's great about this is it does all the bolding of the title and the headlines. And since it has that formatting, I can copy and paste it into something like Google Docs, and all the formatting retains. Or I can do it into Notion, which I love, to store it searchable. That has AI built in as well. And you can export into a PDF right from Notion. So I'll show you that in a second. So we get my title, briefing document, leveraging AI and Web3 for social impact and sustainability. Synopsis, there's a nice short description, organized flow of sections. So you'll see all of that. Summary and conclusion, top 3 next steps, deep dive into selected initiatives, network and partnerships, pilot projects. Again, this is just for heuristic purposes. And show you one more command, and then I'll show you how to package this up. All right, this is really good, but I feel like we may have missed a bunch of things throughout here. Please create a hypothetical focus group of 12 people. They should be a combination of folks in environmental health and safety, sustainability, ESG investing, and several folks in the NGO space working for various United Nations departments. Have them review the above document in entirety and give me at least 7 to 10 constructive critiques on how to improve this, and give me 3 ideas for further research. Okay, so what we're doing is leaning on the ability for the chat to create those hypothetical focus groups that would be incredibly time-consuming and expensive to do on our own. And I've also done this from a political standpoint and getting like really super specific demographics, like, in terms of political ideology, income, race, ethnicity, religions, zip codes, just to give like really diverse perspectives, and created those focus groups like literally from scratch. Hold on. Okay, so let's see how it did. So the focus group, again, it allows for that decision support, right? You're leveraging AI for decision support, so we're not all in our own minds, which is filled with bias. As much as I'm a very critical thinker and I can hold 2 different thoughts without being married to either one, but I still have a ton of inherent biases. So using a hypothetical focus group is just one of many techniques that are like, oh, okay, I didn't really think about that, or I didn't see it from that perspective. Oh, that's an interesting idea. So it actually helps me and make better decisions and not like lean on my inherent biases. So the constructive critiques are things like inclusion of diverse perspectives. Yes, thank you. Practical applications, critical analysis of Web3. Absolutely. Quantitative data metrics, interdisciplinary approaches. So these are all really, really good. And then ideas for further research. So that's what I was saying, like when you think about it as a process and as a journey, it's not like, okay, I have to get this one command perfect. I get this output. All right, I'm done. Let's just go, email that off. No, I would look at it as the whole, prompting environment. Sure if you can see that on screen, but you can kind of, but if we look at this process again, it's iterative. We do our prompts, we get our output, we check that output, and then we do new prompts to do regeneration. And then we're always looking at asking chat for really good feedback. All right, so it's not plugged in completely. This part. So sometimes you got to pull it out and turn it around. they get old. And just doing our power source there. So my apologies. Oh yeah, so I was saying, if we're doing our prompt, our process, and our packaging, and all along the way, we're checking in and getting good feedback, but also we can lean on chat or any other product or AI software platform to tell us what would help, what should we be doing differently or better or more specifically to get better results if we're not happy with that. Here's the other thing we could do is at the end of all of this, I could say, okay, this has been a really great process. I might want to do this again. Could you tell me or give me step-by-step instructions to recreate this process and workflow again, including the specific prompts that I should be using? I know I was a little bit long-winded in some of mine, so if you could tell me the best way to construct these prompts in the future, and any questions that I should ask of you to help get better results based on this workflow. Thank you. So this is the other part of packaging up, right? When I was doing the AI workshop early on, a lot of folks were brand new to this. So one of the things I would show them is to dispel the mystique is we go through all this process. It's like, oh my God, it looks like magic. But at the end, like, okay, chat, help me. What did we do? And if I wanted to recreate it, what would be the steps to recreate it? And then it seems like not so mysterious or ethereal. It seems like, oh, I could do that. That's pretty practical. So it didn't do it. So I'm going to say finish. Okay, great. So what it's doing right now is it's showing the flow. One, define your objective clearly. And then it gives you an example prompt, break down your inquiry. And then example prompt, specify desired content. So it's literally giving you a breakdown. And then what's nice about this, if let's say you had something that was really, you went through a long, workflow process and you couldn't remember everything you did, you just let AI do the hard work for you. You let chat do the hard work. And then what I could do is copy and paste this into, I use Notion to store it so that I could do that again. So at the bottom, it just has that little clipboard, and then I can just, I would switch over into Notion, paste it, and then I can always export that out as a PDF. So I think this is another probably good point to just stop briefly and check in to get some questions.
We actually have a couple for you.
Shoot.
Sure. So Tracy asks, isn't ChatGPT's information limited to what's from 2022 and before?
Not anymore. So originally, yes, especially with ChatGPT 3.5, there was a cutoff in terms of everything it was trained on. But now with ChatGPT 4, right? Anything, if you just say look up, it'll go, it'll look up and search the entire web, the internet. So in that sense, I don't, what it's originally trained on, yes, but I think it's also updating every year the model. So as it comes out with the next version 5, it's going to be explosive in terms of all the new information it's trained on. Especially, we've been using this, right? So it's not just information, but it's also information that's dynamically been trained on by the 100 million people who have used the app. So I'd say no, it's not legacy anymore.
Gotcha, which sort of leads into our next question. Julie wants to know is, was this information pulled from your personal knowledge base?
Yes, so it's a combination. So I'll use public information, especially around structures and systems and design. But then in terms of like the expert information, the esoteric knowledge, that's me. And it's not just my information, it's my analysis, right? So I'll take public information and put it through all these different systems and processes to package it up. So it's think about it this way: there's raw data, then there's packaged information, and then there's actionable intelligence on top of it. What I'm always working towards is actionable intelligence.
Gotcha. And Rolana wants to know, can ChatGPT version 4 provide pictures or videos of this research?
Yes and no. Yes, but it's not perfect yet. It's not perfect yet. So do you have other questions? That's a great thing that I wanted to show. So I can write a prompt for that. But did you have any other questions?
Is there any other questions in the chat? Would anyone like to ask Michael anything before we move on? I think we're good for now. Chat, you can continue putting questions into the Zoom chat box, and then as we have breaks for questions, I'll be sure to bring yours up. But Michael, you can go ahead and continue.
Good. So looks like we have another 20 minutes. So I think this is a good time to talk about images as well as both inputting and outputting. So you can now easily attach, pictures. So just pull up pictures from your device. A lot of times I will take a picture of something, a page of notes, and have it read it in and then translate that so I don't have to type it in. That's like an easy example. The other thing you can do is take a picture of a mathematical problem, and it will not only solve it, it will give you the steps to solve that. So that's great for homework with the kids, but it's also great for if you're in work and you're like, oh my God, I don't remember my chemistry as much. Like, what's that formula again? Or someone's like an algebraic formula you haven't used in a while. Like, how do I solve that again? So it's really helpful in that sense. But in terms of generating images, so like I said, chat is using DALL-E, which again is like a little bit more limited version of Midjourney. Midjourney is really powerful right now, but DALL-E is getting there. It's not in the same class, but in terms of like commercial use, I think it's pretty good. So let's do this. Okay, chat, please help me write a prompt to create an image for the Greenville Innovation STEAM Lab. We're going to be working on some cool stuff, training middle school and high school students using virtual reality headsets about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, how to improve local sustainable agriculture and grow food, farmers markets, growing our own herbs, biking and walking more, just being out in nature. So we'll be learning about it, we'll be doing it, and then we'll also be communicating with people around the world. So this is the context. Please give me a short and descriptive prompt to create an image for a new flyer and postcard that we're going to make to help promote this Greenville STEAM Innovation Lab. So in this sense, it's okay to give long context. That's not the command. The command is to create an image. The context is all of that flavor. And then I'm asking chat to translate that into the exact and specific language to interface with DALL-E to create that image. So context, command, and then packaging. Now, oh, interesting. So you could see, and that's why I was saying it's not perfect, is it cannot do text. It's really, really bad at typing text correctly. Ramin's nodding his head. It's really bad. But image-wise, it's fantastic. So this is now something that is pretty full that I can use as is, knowing that the text is not perfect. So it's really for heuristic purposes. It's just to demonstrate an idea. All right. So again, when we say it's a conversation, so iteratively. All right. Thank you, chat. This is fantastic. So this is fantastic. Please create a new version of this, and I'm going to give you a couple of notes. So I really like the style of this image, and I like all the SDGs in there. Could we make it so it has a little bit more of an urban backdrop to it? So just doing a little bit. Ooh, that's cool. That's a lot. That's a lot of SDGs. But That probably plays really well from here. Yeah, you can see that. This is kind of cool. And that's what happens when I work with the image stuff. I get distracted easily. I'm like, ooh. So I recommend, like, again, beforehand is saying, all right, I was just playing with this. Now let me get specific in terms of my command. Okay, this is really good. I like this style and format. So I'm going to give you a couple more notes and then we'll do a next version. Hopefully that could be a semi-final draft. So this is for a 5x7 postcard. I think the audience is going. So the audience is going to be, again, middle school, high school, and obviously the parents and teachers within Greenville County, South Carolina. It should be very inviting. It should have warm colors, obviously lots of green, and let's make sure that there's some things in there for high technology, drones, virtual reality headsets, but still being balanced and grounded with sustainable food, local food, clean energy, and walking and biking. So that's a lot, but again, I'm not giving it complicated command, I'm giving it a lot of context. And then it will convert that over instead of me trying to come up with the perfect prompt, which I would do in Midjourney, because you can see the changes on the fly and they give you 4 variations. But here, when it's only one, I'm asking chat to help me out with the prompting here. Ooh, this is very cool. Very different. Otherwise, what do you think, Remy?
That is a drastic shift.
That is a drastic shift, yeah. But I like the fact that it almost spelled some stuff correctly.
Spelled Greenville.
Yeah. It's a little bit too ominous. All right, chat. I think this went a little bit in the wrong direction. I like the text at the bottom, but this seems a little bit too urban, not enough people, a little bit too legacy in terms of the vehicles. Those vehicles look like they'd be running on diesel. I don't know if that's a trolley. So that's not really, highlighting sustainability. It looks like, I don't know, a half-baked dystopian nightmare. So please take another crack at this and use these notes to shift back to the previous version. And that's why I said it's a conversation. It's iteratively, this is not my normal workflow where we're on this live. I usually plan everything out really carefully, but it's good just to see how, like, you give it a command, you see what the results are, and then you tweak the command. As you can see, that's kind of with everything. With here, you get the immediate, results in your face of a visual image, so you kind of know whether it right away is missed the mark or it's on point. So I think that's helpful. So you can see. That's not where we wanted to go. I think the previous images were a little bit more in line. All right, let's see what it comes up with this last version, and then we'll move on to the next phase. Just tell it to regenerate. Taking some loop. All right, and I think after this, since we're winding down on times, we're going to shift to being a good, good corporate citizen, and shifting back to AI and sustainability. Not that we ever left, but I was kind of like giving you a lot of like the technical ways to use this. So we'll shift back to looking at how do I measure my overall footprint. And again, it's not just, everyone talks about carbon, and carbon's very, very important, but there's so many other things that are contained in my sustainability footprint. All right, so seems pretty good. better. All right, I think that was a good one. People with headsets. So they probably overcompensates, but it's all good. All right, so this was, I think, in the general. So let me go back to Greenville Navigator. All right, thanks, chat. So we're going to wrap this up with a nice little short work session. I'm looking for how to incorporate my values around sustainability, social impact, and being a good corporate citizen. You know, for my small business and lowering my environmental, especially carbon footprint, and definitely my methane footprint. So give me some ideas of how I can update my custom instructions for my ChatGPT so that anything that I look at personally or professionally is through a sustainability lens, as I've just given you. Being able to be good citizen, being able to use transportation that doesn't have a big carbon footprint, being able to make food choices that have a low carbon footprint, definitely low methane footprint, in all respects. And obviously, as I go through this, giving me choices where, like, here's the most drastic choice of being a good sustainability, citizen versus maybe I got to make some trade-offs. So give me some ideas of how we can help create the perfect custom instructions. So, all right. So what we're doing here is, again, leaning on chat to do the heavy lifting for us, but we're giving it the context and instructions. So what I'm asking is, how do I make every prompt go through a sustainability lens? So how we're using AI, right, for everything. So anytime I'm asking it about, travel choices, vacation, work options, which computer systems to upgrade to, it's always looking at my personal and professional sustainability footprint and ways to improve it. So that's one thing. Wow, so it gave me some really good ideas. So sustainability first approach, right? Integrating a principle that prioritizes sustainable options in every response. For example, always present the most sustainable option first, considering environmental impact, energy efficiency, and resource conservation. Perfect. Carbon and methane footprint. Include a directive to highlight or calculate carbon methane footprint of recommended actions, products, or services whenever possible, guiding you towards choices with minimal environmental impact. Perfect. So it's giving me all these great, we're definitely going to send this out to all of you. This is fantastic. Trade-offs and alternatives, educational component. What does that say? Include a clause that encourages the provision of educational snippets on sustainability, helping to raise awareness about the impact of certain actions and the benefits of alternative choices. I like that a lot. So, and I do that in other things, right? So as it gets to the end of my results, my prompt, I can say, oh, and if you wanted to learn more about, let's say, reducing organic food waste, go here. So I like that a lot. Community and social impact. Ensure that responses consider the social impact of recommendations, favoring options that contribute positively to community well-being and social equity. I love this. I love this. So what I just did here, right? I don't know if you can understand the gravity, right? The weight of this. What I did here is ask chat to tell me how I can make custom instructions to put in to my chat knowledge base so that every prompt that I do going forward in perpetuity makes a more sustainable choice. That's huge. So imagine if we all did that. Imagine if all businesses did that. Imagine if all governments did that. Imagine if all countries, you get the picture, right? So that's why I was saying I couldn't just do this from a professional level. I had to look at this through a personal level, a professional, and then as a good a good citizen of the world, a good global citizen of the world. So this is now getting into the nitty-gritty, which is the specifics. 5 minutes. So what I would do here is literally, this is, you know me, I would go into my settings, right? And in here, I can customize this, right? I can customize my profile with these instructions. I can also put that into, as we talked about before, right? When we go into the custom GPTs, I can also do that in here in my custom instructions for all my different GPTs. All right. So we only have a couple of minutes left. So I think at this point, same thing. Let's just open it up. So do some final Q&As. What are some things that you liked here or you wanted to see in the future? And what are some questions that maybe if I couldn't answer them today, also feel free to send them to Yasmina and we can deal with some of them later on as well.
Gotcha. So we actually have one really interesting question. So Megan asks, I do not like the style that ChatGPT uses for writing. I've used many different asks, like asking it to write in someone else's tone, like a famous writer, or using a certain type of tone, and it doesn't come across as genuine. How can I have any other tips or any prompts to have more genuine and understandable writing?
Yeah, that's a great question. Could you let me answer that, and then also if you could just do a quick follow-up question. What type of products did you want to use that for? Was it for an essay? Was it for an email? Was it for a corporate presentation? Just so I know. But I'll be happy to answer that while you get that. So I agree. I didn't even, because I can only cover so much today in an hour, right? But what I use in addition to ChatGPT is Claude.ai. Claude is very conversational. So if you don't like ChatGPT's output, please go to Claude.ai. It's free and check out their style. Because I found that their output is really good in terms of writing style. So I'd be curious, depending on what she's using it for, after she uses Claude, if she likes that better.
And Megan mentioned that she plans to use this for social media and newsletters.
Yep. So I'll give you a couple of tips, but I think that you could do a lot of work in ChatGPT, and then once you want to get the really refined messaging and copy, go to Claude and saying, hey, help me write it like this. That's one tip. Two, you can customize the output of ChatGPT. You just can't do it in this environment without all the prompts that I use. You can use it in OpenAI's Playground, where on the right-hand side, there's a navigation with tools, and you can change the tone, the vibe, it's called the heat, right? So it's how much creativity you give chat versus how much you want to be straight logical. So there's ways to tweak the output, but you have to use OpenAI Playground to do that.
Got it. So Rizal wants to know, what is your thoughts on Perplexity AI? It's based on ChatGPT.
I haven't been using it as of lately, so no opinion at this moment. I would want to play with it and then give my opinion on it. So no opinion right now.
So Yasmin wants to know that she's currently using Bard and finds it more genuine than ChatGPT. Is it because the model that they are using is more open to learning, or is it because the user is affected by learning from the users?
Both. So, I mean, I prefer Chat and Claude. That's just my personal preference, but I think that there's a value of having at least two apps that you're working with. So if you like Bard, use Bard in Chat. Because they are different. They're using different models, they're using different updates, and they're using the training information differently. So that's why you're going to see Chat when they come out with a new version, it's going to go from here to here, because it's got more users than Bard does right now. So it's being trained on more information and more real-time use case scenarios as well.
Got it. Does anyone else have any additional questions? Ron wants to know if version 3.5 can also create images.
No, just the plus version.
Gotcha.
All right.
Any questions at all, everyone? Well, I think that's all.
Okay. Well, we appreciate, everyone joining on this event, and thank you for HerWILL and the Institute of AI for Optimization for asking me to speak at this workshop. So I enjoyed it, and I would love to hear feedback from folks. You can follow me on TikTok. It's my name, Michael.Muyot, or Mr. Civics, and you can subscribe to my channel to keep up to date. If you have very specific questions about AI and sustainability, TikTok's probably the best way to find me. LinkedIn, but really TikTok is where I spend the most time.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for coming today and giving this lesson. I learned a lot. It was very exciting. Very quickly before you head out, I'm just going to go ahead and ask everyone, if everyone in the chat could please turn on their cameras and smile at their Zoom camera so that our team can take a screenshot for our social media. I would greatly appreciate it. So everyone, please, cameras on. Okay, just another moment. Oh, Michael, if you could stop sharing as well.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're good. All right, team, just keep smiling, y'all. All right, we're all good. Once again, everyone, we are sending the feedback form in the chat. Like I say every single time, your input and feedback is very valuable to us. We want to make sure we're giving the best information possible, and we do listen to your responses. We as a team meet every time and discuss. It means a lot to us, and it helps our maker sessions and future sessions better for you guys, our audience. Once again, thank you, Michael. We'll be sharing his social media links later on, as well as this recording. But besides that, you're all free to go. Thank you so much for joining us today.
So much. Talk soon.
Bye, everyone.